Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, but not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth. No, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. You know why money so much? Why you get up and go to work? Yes, I do think about one of the things that my things got to say. I'm just trying to leave a legacy for my kids. Not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. And now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial health mentor to the working class, Mr. Cortez.
Good morning, Black World, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, coming to you live and direct from the I Stand Media Group studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Guys, if you are not familiar with I Stand Media Group, I have the father of that brainchild on the show today. It's digital media, it's progressive media, it is imaging for brothers and sisters who look like me with a positive light, real stories. It's about time that we start to own our stories. So we're going to talk a little bit about that with our guest for today, I Stand Media Group. And it's about time for us to take our rightful place. It's time for us to own our stories and start putting out the content that dictates or depicts us in the proper light. So that's what I Stand Media Group is all about. So today's show, we continue our series, My Brother's Keeper Speaker Series. You guys know that series highlights brothers doing three main things. Number one, brother has to be doing big things in business, and Lex Kelly is doing that. Number two, brother has to be doing big things in the community, and Brother Lex is doing that. And number three, brother has to have that giving heart where he's willing to help other brothers come up and get their feet wet and really build legacies for themselves. And that's what My Brother's Keepers is all about. We not only want to do for our families, do for our communities, but we also want to reach down and pull other brothers up who are trying to get out of the madness themselves and elevate their lives. So do me a huge favor, if you're checking this out on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like the video, and grab the link and share it on your favorite social media timeline. If you guys are checking us out on Facebook, do the same thing for me. If you have not hit the little button in the top right where you can get notifications every time we go live so you don't miss a show, you want to do that for me. And then go ahead and share today's show. Share it on your timeline and let people know that Lex Kelly is that deal. And really quickly, I just wanted to let you guys know that the Monetize My Life Academy is still doing our $5 pre-launch. So if you're looking for branding and marketing coaching, tips, tools, tutorials, live coaching, all that kind of stuff, and your budget is low, but you know you need to get your brand out there, then $5 a month subscription. All you have to do is share this video and tag me in it, and I will email or inbox you the coupon code to take $92 off our regular price, right? When we officially launch, this is a $92 a month academy that will give you everything from branding, marketing, social media marketing, internet marketing, email marketing, different scripts. You get live weekly trainings with me every week. You get live monthly trainings with subject matter experts in particular disciplines of marketing, branding, business development, mindset, leadership. We've got you covered all under one umbrella. So all you have to do is share this video and tag me in it, and I will get you access to that course. So you guys know we normally do Free Game Friday. We're not going to do that today because I got a special guest on, and I'm not going to delay any further. Brother is a powerhouse in business, entertainment, and a lot of things he's got going on in his life. Multi-talented dude, but it's going to surprise you what we're going to talk about today and what his life work is outside of the way he makes his money. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others my brother in Black Men United, Mr. Lex Kelly. Top of the morning to you, brother.
I'm good. How are you, man?
Man, I am doing wonderful, man. Super excited to have you on the show this morning. It is a blessing and an honor, man, to be able to hang out with you, my brother, and talk life, talk business, talk money, talk Black community, all of my favorite subjects on the planet, man. So do me a huge favor, man. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about who you are, your background, and then I got a few questions for you, man, and we're just gonna roll with a nice conversation about some things that we could be doing in the a way of relationships and your life's work and where you're going with some of the things that you got going on.
Okay, well, to kind of make a long journey short, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great experiences within my lifetime. Starting off at 17, going into the United States Air Force, serving in the Iraqi War, also having a professional athletic career dealing with boxing, amateur athletic career with MMA. Majority of my life has been dealing with health and wellness. Since I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, I've always in some capacity been dealing with the biomechanics of the body. When I had my first daughter, which was in 2010, is when I got a desire to get a little deeper into what really is health and wellness in its entirety. I had focused the majority on the physical aspect, rightfully so, because the majority of my time before then, I was in a professional athletic realm. So it was all about the physical aspect, but I never really dug into the mental aspect of the mentality it takes in order to manifest that physical outcome. And when I started doing that, and then on top of that, now having to establish healthy, functional relationships with other people, my sister God, my wife, my kids, we're a blended family, making sure that I made sure that I was a man that was not confusing to her young son. Make sure that I was a man that he could look up to and feel comfortable with being his guider and somebody that contributes to his development. So I had to dig deeper into who I was as a man and as a human. And that led into this burning desire for psychology and sociology. And I'm already, have a huge desire for Black culture. And I already have a huge passion for who were we before influence, before socialized influence. Who were we? How did we define ourselves? Why did we define ourselves at that time? And so taking all that and blending it together is what kind of said, you know what, there's a direct correlation between healthy, functional relationship with self, and then how that reflects onto healthy, functional relationships with other people. And I decided to pull out of the physical realm and dig more into that. Now, while that was developing, I'm also a nerd. So I was able to, at that time, I started a nonprofit because of my community work called Stand Up Men. And through Stand Up Men, we needed our own media outlets so that way we could get information out. And the only way we could do that was to create our own media outlet. So birth from my nonprofit Stand Up Men came I Stand Media Group. And I Stand Media Group was really initially started to support Stand Up Men. That's all it was. It was just a profit company used to support Stand Up Men, and it ended up being so much more because, of course, me understanding business and building my business and my brand, and then finding out what it takes and all the small intricate details in it. I was able to help other people, and then I solved that problem. What do businesses need? And I was able to create a company that was package-based, meaning we create everything, and we're a Walmart or multi-media. So I started moving into a space to where creating a company where you can come to us, Cortez, and you don't have to go anywhere else to get what you need. You can come to us to get your websites, your graphic design, your app development, your printing, your marketing material, your business development. We can incorporate you. Not only can we incorporate you, now I can sit down with you to find out how do you make your personal life function in a way that your business life can thrive. Wow. So we was able to put that all together in packages and offer it, and it worked. And it worked really well. Almost to our detriment, because we took off faster than we were prepared for. Gotcha. And it just helped that I had team members and I had brothers that work with me that are masters of their trade as well. So We are masters of graphic design. I have my degree in cinematography as well. We are masters of our work, and because we have an agenda for our people, we're able to give our people that face and that look of professionalism instead of kind of coming in looking dated because we haven't really focused on what we need to focus on. So that's long journey short, that kind of helps you out.
That does, man. It gives us a great background. It gives us a great starting, a launching pad to get into this discussion. And you said some things that I'm probably going to forget to get into, man. But man, it's amazing that what you do in business actually stemmed from what you wanted to do as a human being. And now, because of that, you help other entrepreneurs understand the connection, the intricate connection to being who you are in business. And we talk about the difference between your job and your life's work. So you have a job in your business that is also allowing you to fulfill your life's work. And I think that is amazing, brother. But you talked about having an affinity for culture and an affinity for psychology and sociology. When you start looking at black culture from a psychological standpoint and a social engineering standpoint, talk about one or two things, brother, that we probably should focus on first to continue to progress out of a history filled with detriments of post-traumatic slave syndrome and things that we see and battle with on a day in, day out basis to really try to own our place in society and in this world.
Right. Well, one of the things that I realized quickly is I said, well, if clearly we're out of shape in some areas, we got to find out the dysfunction. Mm-hmm. I would say the body is perfect. We're born perfect. We got beautiful systems that run perfectly. We just spend the whole lifetime putting shit in it that doesn't belong here. Right. So then we get in this space to figure out how do we get back to normal. And I had to say, well, I was already big into Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Hendrik Clark, Dr. Claude Anderson. I was already into studying ancient kemet, So for me, I had to sit back and say, well, that's where we were at one point in time. How did we get to where we are now? What was injected into us between a time of functionality and dysfunction that we have to address? And then how do we address it in a way that we can heal and rehabilitate without taking ourselves back in time, without focusing on things that really doesn't apply to right now?
Right.
So what I was able to do was sit back and say, okay, well, what is it that is affecting us? Well, number one, our perspective is our reality. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that you're going to hear that's a constant for me, especially if you follow me on social media and you sign up to any of my schools or anything like that. You're going to hear self-reflection is the bitch. Anybody, we know that self-reflection is the bitch. Why? Because that self-reflection, although painful, is your greatest learning tool about you and how you interact and engage in this current moment in time. Mm-hmm. And in order, and for you to really heal from that, you have to figure out exactly what it is that has convinced you or that has taught you to function in that way. And we as Africans on this continent, we got to understand that the way we think is not really our creative thought process. It is somebody else's thought process, somebody else's creative thought process, and that creates an oppression in itself. So when we struggle with building, when we struggle with connecting with our kids, when we struggle with connecting with our women and building businesses and building our own self-esteem, we also have to take consideration what filter are we seeing ourselves and the world and the people around us through. Is it ours?
Right.
Is it yours? Right. So when I say not even just ours, you got to get deeper. Is it yours? Did you create it on your own? Was it built from your own passion and purpose and intention? Or was it something that you just kind of brought in to be a liaison because you really haven't taken the time to really dig in and say, who am I?
Right.
And how do I reflect myself into the world, and what response and reaction is the world giving me as a result? So you really got to focus on, why do you think the way you think? Who taught you? Malcolm X said it best. Who taught you that?
Right. Absolutely.
Who taught you that the way you look was wrong? Who taught you that the way you behave was wrong? Who taught you that your language was your language?
Right.
What does your language mean? See, now I'm in the etymology, and I'm in the in the metaphysics and vibration. See, I can go as deep, but I go deep, but I try to keep it as normal and as culturally present as possible.
Absolutely, and you have to, because we need more and more people to get it, right? Right. Sometimes when you go so deep, only a handful of people can get it, and you kind of missing the purpose and missing the work. But you talked about that, and it's funny. Those of you who have been following the whole series this week, you know that this one thing keeps coming up, right? And it is my definition of power, right? How do you? What is the definition of power? Is when you can define someone else's existence and have them take ownership of that definition as if they created it, right? And that's what you're talking about. Somebody told us we live in the ghetto, and we became ghetto fabulous without even a second thought. And now we believe that that's part. Somebody told us we live in the hood, so now we took the neighbor off and the neighbor out, and now everything is about the hood. See, when you go from neighborhood to hood, or you don't speak about community because you live in hood, then how often do you say the word unity if you're not talking about a community, right? A lot of times we don't understand that our existence has been defined, and we got to get to a place that we redefine it. Now I want to touch on something else, brother, because you talked about being in a blended family. I'm of a blended family, right? My wife had 2 children when we connected, and the funny thing is, I said I would never mess with a woman who got children because I don't want baby daddy drama. I'm the most non-confrontational person on the planet, right? I don't want no drama in my life, no. But guy had other plans. He said, hey man, I got 2 little boys over here that needs a father. So we stepped in, and I saw a meme the other day. It says, I'm not a stepfather. I'm the father who stepped in, right? Or stepped up. And that was powerful. So talk about help brothers, because you deal with relationships, find their place in the kid's life that is not their biological, and how you were able to blend your family, and also like you said, you wanted to be a non-confusing figure in that child's life and be the representation of what a man is in every capacity. So talk about how you made that work in a practical sense.
Well, one of the ways that I was able to make it work is and still working it is, I say parenting is intentional. You know, whenever you decide to be a parent or decide to be a figure, an authority figure, or somebody that somebody can exemplify, that it takes intention, and with intention also takes knowledge. It takes doing some research and understanding of yourself so that you know who you're presenting to that individual. It also takes love and care. And so before that, I've always been a community servant. I've always, I had a long history of community service before we decided to make this thing a thing. So before my wife and I decided, okay, we're going to actually build this thing, I was already in my mind said, you know what, I know you have a son, so I'm going to make sure that if I'm going to commit to you, I'm committing to him as well. So I came in already knowing with the intention what my job was, right, as a man for that young boy. Right. And I had already done the work. I had already started the journey of the self-work. I had already made sure that I was in environments and around people that would elevate me and develop me and always show me different ways to expand myself and challenge my own personal status quo. So I had already started that. So what I would advise brothers to say is this: if you're thinking about getting into a relationship with a sister guy who has already manifested life through someone else, you need to be intentional. And when you become intentional, that really will help you define whether you want to be there or not. Right. That will help give you clarity, because a lot of brothers kind of just fall into relationships based off of they're motivated by the female. She sets certain requirements, but we really don't. We just kind of say, okay, this is where you want me. It works with me the way I think right now. Boom, I can handle it. Right. And we just kind of fall into the relationship. Women are more strategic. They're like, we going to be in a relationship. And in order for us to be in a relationship, you got to do A, B, C, and D.
Right.
So we kind of say, okay, well, can I do A, B, C, and D? Yeah, I can. Or I'm a fake punk trying to do whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We
aren't taught that way. We aren't taught to be intentional about our relationships, which is key. We have to start being more intentional about our relationships, and not only the relationships, but how do we affect the children that come with it.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you say that, because when intention is there, you have to understand, and I understood this very early on, is that children pick up more than they're actually taught, right? See, when you have children in the room, anybody who's been around young children, nobody set a child down and taught them every word that they know how to pronounce and enunciate in every sentence, every phrase, but they picked it up from being immersed in a culture where English is being spoken or Ebonics is being spoken, and that they picked that up. You didn't have to teach them that. So when you're not intentional, right? One of the things I like to say is, if you're not developing leaders, you're developing followers by default. So you have to be intentional with every action, especially around your children. And that's amazing that you said that. Another thing that you talked about was self-reflection, man. And I literally drove myself crazy as an early adult, trying really hard to convince the world that I was who I was pretending to be. Because I didn't want to look in that mirror and come to terms with who I am now. And it wasn't until I did that I became completely confident in the man that I am, and things started to take off for me. So talk about some practical steps that you can help people to use in number one, dealing with the pain of that self-reflection, because for me it was painful, right? And then some steps that they can take to say, okay, if this is who I am, if this is who I am, but I don't want to be this person, what are some first steps that they can take to transform in their lives?
Okay, well, some steps that brothers can take is, the biggest thing is just in terms of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Your perspective on life. So understanding to a core that perspective is reality, and everybody has different realities based off of different perspectives. We can both be looking at the exact same thing. Even people watching this show right now, there's so many different people that can take what we're saying different, even though we're saying the same thing that everybody else is hearing. Right. They're going to engage with it differently. So perspective is reality. So understanding that perspective is reality. Understand that throughout your lifetime, you are going to expand your perspective. And that needs to be an intention. Your goal is to expand your perspective. Your goal is to challenge who you are now in an aspiration of growth. So never think that where you are now is it. Right. I have an elder that says, man, the elder says, the older I get, the more I found out. Well, he said, the older I get, I found out how little I know. Right. The brother is 60, he's 68 years old, and he is adored by everyone. He's our Baba, he's our elder, and he's saying, the older I get, the less I find out I know. Right. So that in itself says that you have to pay attention to your perspective on life. Make sure that you understand that nothing is steadfast. You're constantly growing. Things will change, so be elastic. Be elastic about your thoughts. Be elastic about your beliefs. Be elastic about your understanding and your energy. Don't be so hardcore to the point where you can't expand, because when you don't expand, then you can't be creative. In every relationship you'll ever be in, whether in business, personal, with your kids, it's all a creative process. Relationships is a creative process. So you need to be elastic. And you need to make sure that you understand that your perspective is yours, and part of your process in life is not trying to conform or get everybody to jump on your perspective, but to learn other perspectives, so now you become more dynamic.
Nice. I like that, man, because I talk about a little bit of a vision and seeing, like I said, I saw what I was in the mirror, and I saw. It's funny. I was getting off an elevator one day, I was getting ready to walk onto an elevator one day. The doors were open, right? And then the doors had closed, And I just kind of looked away and looked back, and I saw my reflection, and I saw the person in the reflection. I literally did not recognize that person as myself. But I instantly and intrinsically knew that was the person that I wanted to become. So it was almost like I've got a picture of who I am today, and this was about 5 years ago. And I was like, wow, that is a sharp brother. That was, so now I tell everybody jokingly, but seriously at the same time, the Cortez of 2027, when you guys get to meet that dude, he's something else, man. So I've already introduced myself to the person I'm becoming because of perspective, because of being elastic, because of not being rigid in my thinking and surrounding myself with other people. But talk about, you are someone who very multifaceted, multi-talented, and I could see you having success almost in any of those other endeavors. And I think this is an area where people struggle, is in following their heart, following their passion, and getting down to life's work, right? Their life's work. Not making money, not the job, not the career, but the life's work where their heart is guiding them. How difficult for you was it to keep this in the forefront as your life's work, even though acting, media, production, all of these things that you can do, and you can probably pour your heart into that stuff and make a ton of money like yesterday. But you're saying that has to fit in with my life's work, and where I can work it in, it will be worked in, but that doesn't become the front thing. That doesn't become the center of what I'm doing. How did you make that determination, and how do you keep first things first?
Well, because I fell in love with service. I fell in love with people. I've always been a people person. I remember, when I was, 8, 9, 10 years old, I would walk into a room with a group of adults, and I made a conscious decision in my head to speak and make myself known and present in the room. Wow. So I trained myself without somebody telling me to walk in a room full of people who could be somewhat intimidating because they're grown and I don't really see the world that they see it. And as an 8, 9-year-old walking in and saying, "Hey, how's everybody doing today? You good?" And the people are like, "How old is he?" Like, how? He's addressing the room like everybody's doing good. Good. I'm shaking hands, and so I started. It was early. It was a passion early in life to be connected to people, and because I grew up in some of a family culture, like none of us have no money, but we had each other. So I was able to just go by my grandmother's house and just be there, and just go by my auntie's house and just be there, and just I was connected with people. So that allowed me to not have so many self-defense mechanisms when it came to when it comes to building a family culture. Right. And I fell in love with family culture. And so up to this day, I love family and community culture. I love to see when people are together, they're happy, they're not bent out of shape, they're not full of restrictions. They just are in love with being in love. Right. And so absolutely. Everything that I've done throughout my life, even though I have many different talents, all of it has drawn it back to how can I use this talent in order to focus on this. So whenever I was boxing, I was mentoring young folk. That's how I kind of gained a name in South Florida, was through tying in boxing with mentorship, tying in boxing with personal development on a deeper level, which of course led me into sociology and psychology. Right. So I fell in love with service, brother. I fell in love with people, and I learned to fall in love with me, just like you did. Right. I learned to accept myself for who I was and say, you know what, I'm not a bad person. Like, it's not too bad to be Lex. Right. So I'm going to try to create the greatest Lex possible and then offer that to the world. So that way I can then, in some sort, maybe service or benefit them. And so everything else around it always had to come back to that. I stand medium. How do I help businesses? Stand up net. How do I help communities? Life Connection Health and Wellness, which is the school that's opening up. How do I help people connect to one another so that way they can build? If it's not rooted in service, I'm not really interested.
Nice. That's powerful, man. And people really have to get that and really drive that home for themselves, that where you're going is where you're going. And I can't remember who said this last, but if you don't have a vision for yourself and your life and where you're going, everybody else will pull you into their vision, right? And if you're not focused on one particular thing, you'd be scatterbrained, you'd be all over the place, man. On Tuesday, we did a show, and we did Dr. Boyce's 12 code of conduct, or the Black Code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance, because you talked about family culture, right? Community culture, and you're talking about intention. Can you talk about the importance of a code of ethics, because that is your intention to build the type of culture that you want, right? If you don't have a code, you're going to build a culture whether you want to or not, because you're just going to have certain habits and certain things you're going to do on autopilot. That's your culture. But if you don't have a code of ethics, then the culture that you're building is not intentional. If you put a code in place, so talk about the importance of a code of ethics, and maybe the need to adopt a new code as the Black culture, especially here in America, but also the world over.
Right. So I have an interesting perspective on this, because I say this often. Whenever you're dealing with rules, regulation, codes, and things of that nature, all that ends up happening is we move out of one oppressive system or thought or a way of thinking, and adopt another system or way of thinking that has nothing to do with us. Mm-hmm. Or it was created in somebody else's mind, and nobody else was in their mind at the time that they created it.
Right.
They had no one else in mind at the time they created it. So when we start talking about rules and codes and things of that nature, I always tell people, understand this was somebody else's thoughts and creativity, much like this camera that we're speaking on and that backdrop behind you. You know, that vinyl that ink is printed on was somebody else's idea. Mm-hmm. You are just taking it and using it to your benefit, because you say, you know what, I can use this in order to increase my value or increase my endeavors, or to move further into my endeavors. We got to look at that when it comes to other people's ideas of codes, rules, regulation, and conduct. I always say this: focus on the root. Whenever my definition of love, this is mine. So I said this is my creative thought. My definition of love is providing the greatest part of myself to you. Mm-hmm. That's how I love you, Cortez. Like I'm not gonna. I show you how I love you, not by doing things that we've been socialized to represent as love. Mm-hmm. I show you I love you by presenting you the healthiest, functional, progressive part of me possible in every moment possible. It's not going to happen all the time because we're human. But if you can see that that is my intention all the time, you're going to get a majority of the time result.
Wow.
And then you can say, you know what, Lex protects me from him. Mm-hmm. Lex protects me from his own dysfunction. Now, when I do that, guess what automatically happens? I automatically treat you good. I automatically do right by you. I automatically do all these rules and regulations and codes that people make up or create with the idea of rehabilitation. But at the end of the day, really all that's needed is, how do you express you to other people?
Wow.
And that's where that self-reflection comes in. That's why I focus on self-reflection so hard. Very few people go in before they start trying to micromanage out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. And on the subject of love, I think that is so critical, because we've all been taught to love our neighbors like we love ourselves, right? We love our spouses like our own flesh, right? But what happens if you don't love yourself?
And then what happens when you don't love yourself? And then also, let's go deeper. What happens when your definition of love is skewed? Meaning your definition of love represents something or someone or idea that doesn't belong to you. So your whole idea of love has nothing to do with you in the first place. That's why you can be in a family, you can have kids, you get married with no marital assets, meaning you have two entities coming together with no assets, merged together, and then end up in more debt because you merge debt and not assets.
Right.
That's how you can have kids that grow up and there's no generational wealth being handed down. That's how you can get into a relationship with your husband and your wife, and you cannot take care of your physical body. So now that reflects in your mental and your energy. Now your sex life is going down the tube, your intimate life is going down the tube. That's because this definition of love is more in how can I convince you of the illusion of love rather than how can I present to you the reality of love through me.
Wow. That's heavy, brother. That's heavy. But that's where it belongs, though. I mean, that's the conversation that needs to be had. That is the conversation because you basically you're talking about TV love, right? Everybody wants to show TV love. And that's not reality, right? And I think going back to having those real human connections that state, here is my definition of love, and is this how you define or perceive love? Because this is what I'm going to show. And if we're talking about jumping into something that's supposed to last forever, I think we might want to get this love definition hashed out between the two of us so we understand what it is. Right. And you talked about generational wealth and two people coming together. Again, my favorite subject is wealth. So it sounds like you're saying that when two people come together, it's more than just a love relationship, but this is, if we treat it as what it is, even on paper and in reality, it's a partnership. It's almost like a lifelong business deal, right? And I think we're afraid to look at it like that, and I say that because you can look at people who marry for what we call marry for money, and we will judge that to the hilt, right? And then when two people come together with nothing, and therefore they produce nothing, and they bring a bunch of descendants into this world with nothing and a nothingness mentality, we don't see the perpetual destruction in that. But we will judge somebody, say, oh, she got with him because he got money, or he got with her because they got money. No, maybe they got together because of what they do have and what they bring to the table and what they can build from there. So break that down, the coming together for with marital assets and hand, and should that be part of the dating and the relationship process, looking at what each one brings to the table, not just physically and emotionally, but in terms of assets and wealth and business acumen and all that kind of stuff as well.
Well, I say this, like, it costs nothing to cut.
Right.
Cutting is free. When you came out the womb, your mama's milk was free.
Yep.
Whenever you lay down with your wife and y'all spoon, that shit's free.
Mm-hmm.
When you kiss your babies, that's free.
Mm-hmm.
What we become victims of and neglectors of is the socialized propaganda and education that humanity and socialized behavior are the same.
Mm-hmm.
We very rarely look at the etymology of things, not just words. The etymology of beliefs, not just words. The etymology of education, not just words.
Mm-hmm.
So we very rarely go deeper into why is it called what it's called.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did it really exist? Like, what at that time and place, why was it created, and for who was it created for, and does it serve that same purpose now? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about marriage, if human connection is free, if love is free, meaning me showing you the greatest part of me is free, me showing you the healthiest representation of me is free, me showing you consideration and respect and understanding and forgiveness and all these higher vibrations, all that's free. Why I gotta go to the courthouse to connect with you?
Right.
And pay a fee for a license. What else you gotta pay a license for? Whenever you start a business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You gotta get the articles of certification. You gotta get that article of certification from the state.
Right.
You gotta get permission from an entity in order to do work within that entity. What the hell they got to do with love?
Right.
So why the hell do we keep merging the two together? Because it's a dysfunction that we've been taught. Now, I'm not about to sit here and act like I'm oblivious to how finances create a lifestyle comfortability within that love. We understand that.
Right.
But we got to be clear in understanding that do not put those capitalistic social rules and mix them into your organic love, because that's where you get your love is no longer organic anymore. It's mechanical. It's got GMO in it. It's something else.
Right.
So when we go into a relationship, yeah, brother, we got to sit back and say, okay, sister, I'm vibing with you. We connect. We elevate one another. So let's use this elevation and this connection and this energy in order to be more productive in this social construct. Problem is, many of us are using marriage as a fiat emotional currency. That's what we're doing. We're using business, and that's why I say with Black Men United and yourself, and Andre and Dr. Boyce, we, with the fellas, with the men, we're circulating how do we move energy around on the fiat currency side fluidly. How do we get ourselves out of this rut? But we got to create balance, because in order to do that together, we got to love one another. We can't do it without our sisters. We can't do it without our kids.
Right.
We can't do it without ourselves. So you can't have one conversation and not focus on the other.
Right. Absolutely.
So I always try to create balance within BMU to say, let's talk about money and real estate, but also let's talk about how you're going to function within that, or building that real estate. How are you going to function and sustain that wealth that you create?
Right. And the relationships that those things will create or can create if you know how to manage and create healthy relationships. Good dialogue, brother. This is powerful. I'm learning a lot. I'm sure you guys are learning a lot. If you're on Facebook and you got questions for my man Lex, go ahead and type in a question there, because this is good stuff, man. Because I until I heard you say that a couple weeks ago when we were on the stream doing the drive for Houston, I had never really looked at relationships in that way, and the need to really be intentional about every single one of them, because like you said, when you think about the difference between organic and inorganic, or you use the phrase genetically modified, which a lot of that comes from the social constructs, but like you said, there's some innate stuff that we know and we intrinsically feel and we can adapt to, and we can tell when someone's genuine and that kind of stuff. And sometimes if the relationship isn't based on what we want it to be based on, meaning if it's a business relationship, are the numbers right there? And sometimes the numbers may not be right, but the connection is there, but we will walk away from the connection because of the numbers, right? And we got to get back to that natural organic connection. So let me see if we got any questions coming in on Facebook. Not just yet. So what the relationship you talked about, Black Men United, and I am honored to be a part of that amongst you brothers. But talk about some of the need for brother to brother relationship and how we can improve those relationships a lot better. And I know one of the things that we deal with, again, is somebody defined to us what manhood is, right? Somebody told us what, and I say we like to confuse being macho with being a man, and those are two totally different things. So talk about some of the things that we can do to improve brother on brother relationships.
Well, some of the things that we can do to improve brother and brother relationships is to have a little more forgiveness for one another. And to make sure that we don't put ourselves in that same oppressive social box as the people we say is oppressing us. Oftentimes, brother, we'll look at each other and say, you're not valuable because you don't have.
Right.
Or we create an incubator or energy space of this whole aggrandized thought of material gain, and it doesn't let brothers who are seeking in, because they don't feel that they are a part of that, or they don't feel like they could be appreciated or they can contribute to it. So as brothers, we got to make sure that we are open and understanding, open to forgiveness, and understand that there's brothers who are on their way Everybody evolves in our own time.
Right.
And that we need to allow ourselves the space for those brothers to come in and do their work as well with our assistance. We can't do the work for them.
Right.
But we need to allow a space for them brothers to come in and say, you know what, I'm ready to do the work, I'm ready to sacrifice, I'm ready to get in. And I see what you guys are doing, and I would love to do it with you. We need to be able to find a space to allow them to do that work, because oftentimes as brothers we can get caught up in the same bullshit that's being used to oppress us.
Right.
We get caught up in the same, and I call it fiat currency because that's what it is. We get caught up in the same culture of fiat currency, caught up in the same culture, and we'll mask gaining money together with connection. Yeah. It's kind of like football. You get a bunch of brothers in the room, all of them like different teams, but they'll mesh for the moment, and they got all this great high energy because they all talking about one common thing, which is football. But at the end of the day, they really don't have anything in common, because when you get one in a room with another's family and something pop off, he's not gonna protect that family like it's his own.
Right.
But you thought he was cool because y'all was talking about the Bengals.
Right.
And stats. And y'all was talking about LeBron and all this other stuff. So we got to be careful as brothers to make sure that our commonalities are rooted in something real.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Corey Young says, what inspired you to study Kemet?
Wow, in searching for me, I knew that who I was much different than where I stood. I knew already that, and the world society taught me that already. Like just growing up, I grew up north. I grew up in Maryland. Grew up in a place called Cumberland, Maryland. It's a small city, but it's one of the poorest cities in the nation. But it's a small city, but you're right there on the border of the Mason-Dixie line, and you're in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and stuff. So it's real easy to get kind of like racism kind of mixed in it. So growing up, I'm witnessing that, you know what, something don't feel right. And then I'm being introduced to religion, and even through religion, my intuition is just, bro, like something ain't right. Something ain't right here.
Right.
I'm too young to put my finger on it. But then when I got older, and then I dropped my balls, and that real testosterone, testicular fortitude came out, and I was like, you know what, I'm not afraid to challenge what people say I should be, to find out who I know, to find out who I really am. So as people was trying to push their social ideas on me, I'm like, nah, I'm good, and you ain't gonna do shit about it. Number one, I'm a fighter, so it's like nobody's gonna do anything about it. So if I don't do what you tell me to do, what you gonna do about it? So I used that as my defense. I said, let me go find out who I am. And as doing that digging and that research and breaking down, like, you know what? Going deeper than slavery, finding out about, the colonization of Africa before the transatlantic slave trade, finding out about the Moors, finding out, like going back and then learning Meta Nature and the Netaru. And now I'm like, whoa, now I'm reading Meta Nature on hieroglyphics. I'm reading it on the wall. I'm like, whoa, all this stuff here. These are people that look like me. So there's something about who I am generationally that is completely opposite from what I'm being taught who I am now. And it's my responsibility to dig in and find out all the details in that fact.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's what kind of got me in where my timeline just going back and back and back and back, landing me in ancient Kemet and along Nile.
Yeah, I love that, man. And you mentioned the great ancestor Dr. Amos Wilson, man, and listening to a lot of his lectures and things. I wonder why. Well, I know why. Amongst mainstream society, it doesn't seem like he gets the amount of accolades that he deserves. I think in large because the psychology is one of those intangible things that we have to come to grips with and come to terms with. And then maybe because of the man in the mirror syndrome, nobody wants to do that self-reflection. But he spoke very openly and very honestly about our sickness as people. And some of the things that we do on a practical level, he pointed out to us how sick that was. And I know he was an influence on you in the psychology and sociology. What one or two things that you gleaned from some of his work and some of reading some of his material that you can say that we could put into practical action steps today?
So just to make it real simple, because if you ever listen to Dr. Amos Wilson, that brother gets deep.
Yeah.
But to make it really simple is understanding how we interact, and this really changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding why we interact and engage with our women the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, anytime we're in conflict or we have this feeling about our interaction, engagement with our black women, we always got to sit back and say, why is that? Is there any other exterior or outside forces, influences that is manipulating how we interact and engage with one another? Mm-hmm. Are we really dealing with each other from black man to black woman? Or are we dealing with each other from black face to black face through a Euro thought process?
Mm-hmm.
And that's but our intuition, our natural attraction is organic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we can't quite get a strong connection without conflict because we're engaging with all these Euro filters.
Right.
So the brother really got me sitting back saying, make sure that when you engage with your sisters, that you're engaging with them, being aware that anything that you think, say, believe about them could possibly be an idea, a thought process that somebody else gave you. And not something that came out of your gut, out of your navel, where you were connected to a woman at one point.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That woman fed you and gave you life.
Right. Absolutely.
So that kind of led me into another thing you always hear me say is sister God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not shy about saying that women are the closest representation of God that we have, closest physical representation of God that we have outside the sun.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that helps me, and through him, help me to look at our sisters as more than just a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
She's an energetic body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's a producer. She's a giver of life. She's a nurturer. So this increases my respect for her, increases my thoughts about her, increases what, you know, who I know for her to be, even when she doesn't know who she is.
Right.
For who I know she to be. And this Dr. Amos he really helped me. And then of course dealing with my children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, childhood development.
Yeah.
You know, he also taught me to say, hey, listen, brother, making sure that you are developing your children in a way that they're free of thought and they're productive and they're not just going into this whole cycle and machine of behavior to where they're producing off of our energy.
Right.
You know, allow them to be free and to be creative on their own.
Nice.
So those are some of the things I took away from Dr. Amos, and of course Dr. Emmett Clark, man, he gonna give it to you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Powerful stuff, man. A lot of people needed to hear this morning, and I appreciate you taking the time, brother. We are 3 minutes past the top of the hour. I know we got a little bit of a late start, but I want you to take this opportunity now and tell everybody what you got going on, how they can connect with you. Any projects that you're working on, anything that anybody with resources can help you accomplish, the movements, the nonprofit, and all that kind of stuff. Let people know how they can connect with you, what you got going on, and how they can best help.
All right, so right now, as we speak, I'm getting lexkelly.com. Everything's situated and organized so it can be functional for whenever you visit it. So I want everybody to just kind of make sure that you're in the Lex Kelly Live group on Facebook, and make sure, and if you can't follow me here on Lex Kelly on Facebook, Lex Kelly Live on Facebook. I have 3 pages, so any of them you can connect. But just kind of stay in tune because I have some really great things that I'm rolling out in the next couple of months to help us build this stability platform, to help us become more functional. Not just, and I focus on the sisters and the brothers. Because one thing we brothers, we got to understand is we tend to put the healing process on the women. And we focus on the money.
Right.
Because we're already conditioned that the money heals all things. Not understanding that we have some destructive behavior patterns and beliefs about ourselves and about our community of our own.
Right.
And that we need to make sure that we address those things as men and create an environment to where we can chalk it up, and instead of talking about football or stocks or real estate, let's talk about love, forgiveness, understanding, the shit that people, you know, that we still deem as unorthodox or, you know, nigga that's gay.
Right.
You know,
right.
But at the same time, we're talking about how we want to be with our kids and how we want to love our women, and we have this whole possession over our women, but we don't want to talk about it. So the best thing brothers can do is make sure you're connected on social media. I'm going to then funnel you into a more stable platform, which is the websites. The school will be up here in the next couple of months, Life Connection Health and Wellness, where you can take classes. We're going to be doing some relationship coaching, some personal development coaching, some health and wellness coaching, some business development coaching, some being an entrepreneur and married at the same damn time. That's a dope course. So I'm putting so much stuff together in support of us, so that way we can be functional, and then I can hand the baton over to brothers like Cortez and Andre and Dr. Boyce, and then y'all can start putting them levels on.
Right.
Because we've got the foundation, and we level the ground, and we make sure the ground is solid.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate everything that you got going on.
I appreciate you having me, man.
And this is a phenomenal conversation. So we're gonna kill the feed, but stay on for me for a couple minutes, guys. You've been listening to and learning from Mr. Lex Kelly. The man is so talented in every respect, in every way. He could be a billionaire and probably 6 or 7 different industries right now, but his life's work says he needs to be helping us heal and maintain good, solid relationships and connections one with another, and that's going to transform our community. And in addition to what we're doing with the economic empowerment and rebuilding, we've got to start rebuilding these organic connections one with another. I'm H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community. Till I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it, but more importantly, you deserve it. Peace out, y'all. All right, my brother. So, man, that was amazing, man. That was amazing, good stuff. So, you know, if I find the time, I'll clip it up and we'll keep putting this thing out, man, rebroadcasting it, you know, a few times in the near future as well. So let me know every time you have something. You're welcome, man. Brother on Facebook or YouTube was asking about your Black Men Unity line. But I'll get his answer, and I will follow up with you on YouTube.